Call me to get the order.
Comment a little bit about the audit,
Certainly.
where it is.
Well, can we get it during board comments?
We'll do that.
All right, we're ready to move on to the integrated plan presentation.
Chair Jones, members of the board, I'm really kind of excited to be here tonight to present this plan. We've been working on it, like Superintendent Kittner said, for over a year. And so tonight, you will hear a required presentation. It is lengthy, and I will do my best to not bore you. Please stop me anytime in the presentation to ask questions, and there'll be time for questions at the end. I do want to remind you, though, that tonight I will be talking about things that we will pay for with the dollars from this grant. Things will braid and blend, like ODE required us to do. They encouraged us to braid and blend our funding to get the things that we needed for the district. But I won't be talking about general fund dollars or other dollars. Tonight, I'll just be talking about the integrated plan dollars. And I'll try to make that as clear as I can as I move through the presentation. I can honestly say that the process to develop this plan has been very labor intensive. It was hard work, but it has been a good, authentic process. One of the best that I've been involved in my over 30 years in education. But tonight I want to tell you a little bit about the process and explain how we came to the conclusions that we came to. And I need to seek your approval, but I also need to get your input. The final plan isn't due to ODE until March 31st. So we have a couple of weeks to finish the presentation, finish the budget sheet, but you'll see that as we go along. As you recall, the integrated plan came out of a cry from educators saying, there are too many plans that we're writing, there are too many budgets that we're creating, there are too many accountability documents that have those similar outcomes. Can't you put it into one plan? And they heard us and they did it, and now we're all saying, oh, it's a lot for one plan. But in the end, it makes a lot of sense. A lot of the work does have overlaps, and you'll see when we get to the budget document how important it is to have married all of these plans into one. You'll remember that there are 6 programs that have been integrated. These 6 we all are part of, but only some of them are funded, and only some of them are we responsible for to put into our integrated plan. We're part of the Mid-Willamette Education Consortium, and they oversee Perkins 5 and the career and technical education. Now you might think, wait a second, we have career and technical education, but we fund ours through high school success. Perkins 5 through the consortium takes care of that particular plan. Everyday matters and continuous improvement planning are unfunded. So tonight, I will talk to you about high school success, the student investment account, and the early indicator and interventions. Here's a brief description of each of those plans. Pay particular attention to high school success, SIA, and EIIS. It's also important to note that special attention is to include our student focal groups, which are set by ODE. And our focal student groups are students of color, students with disabilities, emerging bilingual students, students navigating poverty or homelessness or foster care, migrant students, students with an experience of incarceration or detention, LGBTQ2IA+ students, students who have recently arrived in this country, or other students who have historically experienced academic disparities. As you can see, we've had a large planning team, and I'm really excited to give you this number because I estimated that we've gathered over 1,000 pieces of evidence in the formation of this plan, either through in-person meetings, listening sessions, mission vision committee, surveys, over 1,000 pieces of evidence gathered. And I think for a school district our size, that's a phenomenal number. Yes, there is some duplication because some people maybe came to a listening session and also completed a survey. But we utilized that information like I have never seen before to form a plan that would really meet what we needed for our students. The integrated application process requires us to follow these steps in order to curate a quality plan matched to our local needs. In our case, we took the needs that emerged from the Youth Truth data. We disaggregated and drilled that down even further, and then presented parents, students, and staff with a needs survey. And that became the basis for what you'll see tonight. We aligned that basis with our strategic plan and our mission and vision. And you will see that what we will have in Jefferson is a seamless education system, is systematic change, systemic change. As I told you, we're required to use an equity lens tool, and we are required to tell ODE what equity lens tool we use. We use the Oregon Equity Lens, and here are just a few of the questions that come out of that tool. But I have to tell you, I'm really proud of how the Jefferson School District always puts all students at the center of every decision made. And while we are required to use an equity lens tool, I can tell you that equity is the tool at the table every time we meet. How will this impact this student? How will this impact that student? Last week, Superintendent Capener sent out an all means all. That's really what happens behind closed doors, all means all. Some of our community engagement highlights I've already spoken to, and these are the highlights that I picked, the things that I felt really gave a form to the plan. And while I know that it's critical to share information about our engagement with focal groups, it's also important to ensure privacy and safety regarding the interaction with these groups. But what I can tell you is that we had deeply engaging sessions and surveys where we received both authentic and critically important information. Some of it was critical of how we do things, but it was important that we listen.
You said I could stop you at any
Yes,
time.
you certainly can.
How approximately how big is your planning team?
All of these people, the planning team is all of these people, anybody who had voice in this plan. And there are a variety of planning teams. And then it distilled and distilled and distilled.
And while you list, was 8, 9, maybe I didn't count them, but in them, there are parent engagement participants. and
Yes.
Student engagement participants, and I think
Yes.
that's great, as well as Latinx design participants. You don't have an approximate number for how many parents, how many students?
I do, because there are forms of evidence that I have to submit when I submit the plan in my office. But I can tell you that from the Youth Truth, there were hundreds, probably 600 people. From the needs survey, there was probably 200. There was student listening sessions, parent listening sessions. There are committees at each school. And so it's a lot. It's a lot. And I have all of that information there. I did not count them. The other thing is because the surveys are confidential, I don't know who answered those. So I don't know how many duplicates there are. And there could be duplicates.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I'll just move right into this question, goes right into that, Fred. The needs survey. The needs showed two things. The first was that school safety was the #1 concern expressed in the Youth Truth survey. And not just from parents. It was the #1 concern expressed from students and staff and parents. It made it pretty clear that we needed to take a look about how our students felt when they were at school. It also talked about, and rose to the surface, the need to have some place for dysregulated students to go so that other students could learn. The second thing that our needs survey identified was that there is a deep need in this community for physical needs, such as dental care and medical care and vision screening, free clothing and hygiene products, along with laundry services and showers for family in need. And while we will be addressing that, it's not in this plan. But you will see that, remember grading and blending, but it really rose to the surface as a need for our students and our families. So let me start telling you about our plan. We haven't thrown out our old high school success or our old SIA plan. We're keeping a portion of it, and these are the pieces that we're keeping. We balanced the feedback with the return on investment that we were seeing, graded and blended those things, and added these items back into the plan for this biennium.
Kathy, what is Navians?
Naviance, it is an electronic college profile. So we always did a hand plan and profile, like 14, 15 pages. Now they do electronically. You can also do virtual job shadows. You can do virtual college campus visits. And you can send out letters, you attach your resume, you attach your transcript, all of that in one place. And our students were rolling that out, and it's pretty powerful. And you'll see in the budget that it doesn't cost a lot.
Mrs. Emmerich,
Yes,
the middle school, high school, elementary school, and middle school teachers we currently have. So we're
Right.
retaining,
this is what we are keeping from our current plan.
okay,
Our next slide is going to tell you what we're adding, but I don't want to rush you through this slide. If you have any questions.
Well, in the word keep, that's that right? I'm curious what we're not.
Well, I can tell you that too. We are not keeping Trillium, which is a private insurance mental health counselor, because of the return on investment. Remember, we're balancing. What do we use? We are moving a classroom teacher from high school SIA to general fund. So there's some things that are moving too. We're not losing a lot, but we're losing some.
Yeah.
I'm retiring, so you're losing me out of the plan. And Brad, I'm trying to think of other things, but
Well, you know. the, It's parent, you know, and how they inform. And then we're able to ask the critical question if there is to such, and you've explained it. Okay, so I'm completely, I'm addressed with it.
good. You can find the current plan if you go to our website. And then across the top, click on plans, and you will find the current SIA plan. SIA was all that was required to post there.
Thank you.
So what are we going to add? Here's what we plan to add. We will develop a 9th through 12th grade alternative school, and this school will still be part of Jefferson High School, but it will be housed in a different location. Students who want to attend will have choice to meet in person, online, or with a hybrid model. And this placement will be staffed by a half-time certified teacher and a half-time instructional assistant. And I know that makes you wonder, well, how will students earn credit if we only have a half-time certified? We plan to bring on Graduation Alliance as our curriculum. And Graduation Alliance has a certified teacher on the other end. So that meets the endorsement requirements. And that person handles all of the grades, all of the requirements. And so the integrated plan will fund a half-time certified and a half-time classified person to be on-site monitors for the 9-12 whole school. Secondly, we intend to add a secondary 6-12 emotional growth center. Now, I want you to understand that an emotional growth center is just for special education placement, are students with disabilities. And these students would have to have the correct placement, and the IEP would have to determine that they could attend the AGC. The integrated plan will fund 1 certified teacher and 3 IAs for this, for the emotional growth center, secondary. Thirdly, we will develop and implement a primary emotional growth center. And the integrated plan will fund just the certified person for this. You will hear when you get the budget from other line items that the IAs will be funded in a different way, just not by the integrated.
Kathy, you're talking primary and secondary is elementary and
Junior
High
high,
school, junior
6,
high.
12, and K-5. 6, 12, and K-5. The 4th edition is a high school campus monitor who will be available to just provide more safety features for the high school. And the 5th edition is a halftime high school reset room. And that's where dysregulated students can go if they need a break, a place to just go and relax until they're ready to go back to. Any questions on?
The campus monitor, does that have anything to do with the, SRO?
Well, kind of, but let me explain about an SRO. In our needs survey, we asked about what level of security people wanted, and an SRO was down on the list. But we explored it anyhow, and we found out that it will take 2 years to get a trained SRO for our campus, if we can get one. I don't know if you watch the news, but you could tell law enforcement is struggling to get enough law enforcement people. And so that's what we found, to get the training and put somebody in place that would take 2 years. So a campus monitor is not an SRO, but they are a person who has some specialized training. Any more questions on this before we move on?
Kathy, on number 5 talks about the reset room behind it. It says IA. Is that instructional assistant?
That's right, it's a classified position. It's a classified position. It's being funded by this fund. So we'll move on to the next slide, and we are doing all of this because we have set some outcomes in place for us to reach the need. And these are our 3 intended outcomes. They're long-term outcomes. We are supposed to set outcomes for a 4-year period, even though we're setting our budget for a 2-year period. But we believe that by putting this plan in place, we will see progress even next year. We believe that some of these things will instantly help our students feel safer, help them find a place where they can establish their own emotional well-being. And we also believe that we will see academic progress. You'll see those in our 3 outcomes. There's something called a longitudinal performance goal. And we have not gotten the information that we need. Nobody in the state has. But this year we will be setting those collaboratively. And I have a slide that will be coming up that will explain that in detail. But they're common metrics and we'll look at that. But that will address item number 3 there. All of the numbers that we have. This year ODE will set those performance targets with the school district so that you can't like underachieve. And those will come back to you most likely in July for approval. Now let's move on. These are our key strategies. We had to set outcomes, and we had to set strategies, and then we had to set activities. The activities are the dollars and cents part of it, but they have to make the strategies work to get us to the outcomes. That's kind of how this plan works. So I'll let you take a look at those.
Mrs. Emmerich, are we maintaining the 19 positions at Lyman for their academy, or are we adding to it?
We are not adding to it, we are maintaining 18 positions. And that's on the next slide, so you're reading my mind.
So continue with the high school life skills class. Originally we had that during Wednesday, when we had Wednesday academy class. Would that be a separate, required class, or would there be a return of Wednesday academy? Or-
Not life class, we need life skills.
Life skills.
So it's the class beside yesterday.
Okay,
Good question. Are you ready to move forward? Let's move to the next slide. These are our key investments. And you guys know that staffing is our best but most expensive asset. This plan adds or maintains over 10 FTE. And we believe that we'll see incredible return in this plan in 3 ways. One, our students will feel safer and they'll come to school. 2, our learning environment will improve when our dysregulated students have a place to go when they need a place to go. And 3, we believe that opening all of this plan will bring some of our students back to our district. And that in and of itself will also bring funding back into our district.
Is it adding or maintaining 10?
It's both. It's the things that you saw. We are maintaining some of those staff. And we are adding some staff to equal over 10.
How much is the each?
Well, we're gonna see it in the budget and we can go right down through it when we get to it, but I think it's probably. I think we're probably maintaining 3 to 4 and adding 6 to 10. 6 to 7.
Thank you.
I did not prepare for that question.
That's what I'm here for.
Thank you. One of the things that you also should know is we have been asked to present or talk about what we would do if the funding comes in, if more funding comes in, or if we can't provide for some of the positions that we put into our plan. And so we just decided that we would add some of the things that we decided to cut back in, like Trillium or other mental health service, and adding back personnel, potentially. But right now, all of our numbers, as well as the state school fund, it's all a guess. We're not sure what the final numbers will be. So this is our tiered approach in case we can't hire the people that we want to hire, or somehow we get more money that comes into the integrated plan.
And 1 budget question.
Yes.
Is this based upon the governor's suggested budget?
This really isn't, but there's a formula that includes student numbers. And so they've given us these allocations, and we're just not sure if they might readjust
Okay.
some of the allocations. It's quite, this part is. Now, the part that Hattie will be presenting in a month to you, that is based upon the governor's budget. SIA and high school success are not necessarily, however, it's all tied.
Yeah, it's not necessarily co-mingled, but the dollars are gonna come somewhere.
They come from somewhere.
Yeah.
And if you remember, high school success came out of the voters voting to have that plan. And so there is someone, you say, not commingling, but you know, the same pot kind of gives us a lot of different funding streams. So I apologize for how small this is. I hope you can read it. Jen zoomed it on the screens for you, but this is the first part of the budget for you to look at. And I would draw your attention to the first 3 lines. Total allocation for 23-24, total budgeted amounts, and unbudgeted. And I want you to know that I am no accountant and I am no fiscal manager. But it is still my job to present a balanced budget, and you can see on that unbudgeted, we have zeros all the way across, which means we are presenting to you a balanced plan. It all could change if they change our allocation, But this is where you will see all of those people that we've added, and you can see there is an FTE line. And this is only the top part of the budget. You have the second page, which is coming. In all honesty, I want to tell you that in order to fit it on one page, I had to hide some columns that were coding columns only. You know, FTE, what code did they take, so that will all be on the website with all of the columns, but this is the meat of what you needed to see. So I don't know if you want to take a minute to look down all those line items, because the copy that you have in front of you is probably awfully small to see.
So the lines on top, are they equal with everything underneath it?
That's correct, that's correct. And then the second page has the rest of the expenditures. You will see that most of our expenditures are in personnel. However, the 18 slots, the 18 slots at Willamette Career Academy cost the district $90,000. And that's a big expenditure. But if you talk to any of our students who are attending WCA, it is a great return on our investment.
Kathy, are all of the students that are attending WCA this year still active?
There are 2 students who are no longer active. And they were part of the junior class. So the high school, I can tell you, has done amazing work in putting in an interview and application process, so that they can really talk to those kids about it. Because those slots are expensive. They're $5,000 a slot. This upcoming year. This year, I think they're about $4,800.
Does that include the transportation coming from?
That comes from another funding stream, the transportation to and from. Comes from another funding stream. Any other questions about these two slides?
When we commit to those 18 positions and everything else that are there, and say 2 of those drop out like that, does that funding get adjusted at all, or are we just committed to paying that amount no matter what we get in there?
You know, we've been in on the ground floor of creating the WCA. And so we gave our word that we would buy 18 slots. We have kept our word, even though it's kind of tough. And I'm looking at Brad because I went to him and said, is this a place we want to give some of this up? But we gave our word. I've been on the executive committee of that since day one. A couple of big school districts have pulled out and have really created a little bit of a hardship for the rest of us who stayed in. So as of now, we're very committed to those. And we believe that we will have 18 kids who will want to go there. It's pretty exciting. I went for a visit. They had an open house a couple of weeks ago. And some of our students gave me a tour. And it was just so much fun to hear how excited they were and how proud they were, what they were doing and what they were learning. It's just, if you haven't been there, you really need to go. I know some of you have been there.
How do we get this opportunity? I know we have in the past, but now.
Just give us a call the office and we'll go with you or, you know, we'll set it up for you. But it's pretty impressive, pretty impressive. And it's a great opportunity for our kids and it does give them an entrance right into college. One of the students who was my tour is in the health services part, and she wants to go to med school and she was telling me about it. So I'm in the process right now setting her up for the trip to the med school in Lebanon. So it's exciting, all because of this health services strand that she was able to participate in. If you're okay, I'm going to move us on. This is this page that I told you about the longitudinal performance targets. we are required to talk about 5 common metrics, and they are 4-year graduation rate, 5th-year completion rate, 9th grade on track rate, attendance, and 3rd grade English language. And so we have to set goals, 4-year goals about those, and we have to use our focal groups. We have to close the gap, and we use historic data. Now, I will tell you that I've seen the data, and like every other district in the state, there has been regressions because of COVID. And so it's much harder to set these performance targets. That's why the state wants to collaborate with each district, and we'll be bringing those back to you to vote on after we collaborate with the state. But they also allow us to set local common metrics, and I'm pretty excited about that. And so let's move to that one. We will feel like we are successful if our students and staff feel that our schools are a safe place to learn. And the metric we will use, truth. We have the data. People were very honest. We will be able to see it as real data. I think we'll also understand success when we see students returning to our district. I think we'll measure our success when students report on improved emotional well-being, their improved sense of belonging, and when we look at these academic longitudinal targets, and we see that we are making progress. And that's how we understand success. This is how the state understands success with those LPGTs. And they will come back to you. So what happens next? Well, next, you ask me a lot of questions. We open for public comments, and hopefully you'll see fit to approve us. But let me tell you what happens after March 31st. In alignment with ODE's commitment to develop shared responsibility and confidence in our public schools, and to facilitate learning within and across schools, districts, and communities, the final step of the application review process will consist of something called quality assurance and learning forum. This will go before a panel of our peers. And it will be a peer group from the same size school district as we are. And they will say we meet or we don't meet. It's not an opinion. They will determine if our plan meets the language of the plan or does not meet. The purpose of the quality assurance and learning panel is to support public understanding and grow confidence in the implementation of the various initiatives, to create conditions conducive for learning across districts and communities, and to support ODE's review efforts with a quality check. So once I turn this in, and the day I turn it in, it gets posted on our website with the budget. You'll notice, I want to say this, that I only gave you 1 year's budget. And that's because I finished the second year's budget about 5:15 tonight, too late to get it to you. So that will be on the sheet when we post this on our website. It will also all go to ODE with our artifacts and evidence, and then they will get back to us. Then we will collaboratively meet to set the learning targets, and those will come back to you for final. It's a lot, I know.
Setting the longitudinal progress point. Do you get lined up for that with ODE by how soon you turn in the plan? Or are they doing the large districts first and then moving to the smaller?
No, they said that they will start to set things up in May and June, and I reminded them that I am retiring in June, and so we're going to try to work something out in May so that we can get that done and have that off the plate. We have looked at the data. It just came to us at the end of February, the current data. And so we've already been dabbling a little bit in setting those targets on our end. However, they did ask us not to present those to the board tonight because they want to wait until the collaborative process has happened. And then that's why you are assured that those will come back to you, most likely in July, potentially in June.
Can you help me understand the financials of this a little bit better? We're already providing a lot of these, some of these. things. Some of these things. So how many additional dollars would be required to implement this whole plan?
What I told you tonight is all of the funding from this plan. The spots that I've talked to you about is all funded in this plan, just under $1 million. There is nothing on that budget sheet that comes from any other line item. But I do believe one of the things that I did say that might have been confusing are elementary EGC. We are funding the teacher, but it will also need IAs that you won't see them on here because they're not funded here. They will require funding from a different funding stream. But everything you see in this budget is all from this integrated plan. They're funding everything that's on the budget sheets.
So let me ask this, Kathy, maybe this will help right out. This money is all grant money.
It's all grant money.
And it's perpetual.
It's perpetual for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So up on the top of your budget there, you have EB or ELLS, HSS and SIA, and that's the funds that we think we're gonna get the amount.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's the allocation that we know at this time.
Correct.
The allocation that we know at this time.
So none of this money for this integrated application is gonna be coming out of the general fund.
None.
Correct.
None. You see my budget for this plan in its entirety.
Does that answer what you're asking, right?
Yeah, I guess I didn't realize that like the 18 AHA students that are one career academy coming from the HSF activity budget already, so. yeah,
Correct.
first I think.
And the high school success, that's such a good question, because the high school success prior to this year never had to come before the board. And so you may be unaware of some of those spending. So that's why. That's why it looks like we can do so much. Because there's an extra $250-some thousand in there. It looks like we have some questions from the audience, so I guess I'll just call your name and then if you'll ask your question. They should be identified.
If you'll call their name, then they can.
Okay, Charles Vickery.
You want to come close to a mic,
Or the top, I don't know, either one.
it picks up better.
All right. Sure. So the first thing we'll get to have a question on is you kept bringing up the youth truth survey. On the parent side of it, hardly any were filled out. I've been to the last couple meetings. And I noticed a lot of the kids didn't fill them out, but often the kids really know what's good for themselves. So you're basing this big old plans and they've taken that survey correct until this short time and then they're gonna vote on all this tonight. Is that what I'm understanding?
The youth truth survey was a portion, but then there were multi-layers of
Right.
other portions.
Right.
And I think we had 200 or 300 parents there were who sent in survey results for youth truth. Mhm. I think so, don't
It
quote
didn't
me,
seem
but
like I know it was pretty low. I think my junk mail. Either way. And then the school monitor, like what? Can you go in depth? What can they actually do besides stand there and watch? It's like a teacher could step out of the room into the hallway and watch. I mean, are they allowed to restrain students? So we're gonna waste money on something. He's just gonna watch it happen if we keep him around. That's my other concern. And the last thing, the trillion. is the mental health you're talking about dropping. Do they have a backup plan for that? Just because you can tell mental health is a huge issue right now, and especially to find help for that mental health. I mean, we got kids going to school and going to school to learn. I mean, as soon as it gets warm, we got kids half dressed. There's no way I mean, no wonder these kids can't learn. Just sitting here looking at these girls, one of them are crazy, and they're hardly wearing them. I mean, really, what are we doing to even do something about that? The clothing up there should be an option, but mental health is huge. And I think we don't have a backup plan for that. Get rid of that. I mean, how do you put it on investment on mental health? That's my biggest question.
And I can tell you, I can answer one of those questions. So Trillium can only see a small portion of our students who have insurance.
Right.
And so that's why we changed that when we added all of these mental health supports. So that's why there are a lot of other options. And then just like this monitor. Yeah, that can meet a lot more of our students' needs. So that's what we're looking at, to see how we could really address more of our students.
Right.
As far as the campus monitor, we believe that the campus monitor will be able to do things that a classroom teacher can't, because a classroom teacher needs to be with their students. They can't sit out in the hall and leave the other students trying to attend.
I'm more talking between class, because usually if they're in a class, I mean, they're in a class, but usually it's between classes, lunch, breaks. That's where you see these problems really arise and happen. Like when I was in school, none of the teachers were in their class between break. They were all standing at the door in the hallway. That's pretty hard to get away with something. Now, a lot of them are left to their own device. I mean,
Yes.
it's true. The disconnection between students and teachers and just kind of, I mean, I'm sure they're fed up. I see so many kids that I'm like, I can't believe your parents let you get away with that. You could get a snack. Which should probably solve a lot of problems, but I could see where they're kind of fed up with it too, but yeah, I don't know. I just think spending money on a school monitor that really one guy ain't gonna do much, and especially see the news. Some of them are sickos and pretty soon they're, you know, nothing with a girl that's underage, or they're helping with the drug situation. And so I don't think it would be wise funding.
Go ahead.
Thank you, I appreciate that point of view, and I think those are the questions that we also want to look at and think about before we make any kind of decisions.
Right.
But what we're seeing is, we have a person in there right now as a campus monitor, and we've seen a great decrease in issues. And I think part of the reason is that it's about relationship building. It's about having that person kind of, hey, what are you doing here? Can you get back? And it's that extra layer of support our teachers need, because our teachers are at their door maybe, but they can't be out in the halls all the time. And you have somebody say, hey, get to class, why aren't you there? And but they're building relationships at the same time. So we've seen a great rate of return from our investments in doing this in the last few months. And that's what got us to thinking that we need to continue this, because it's working and our administration really likes it. So we thought, all right, let's support it.
Yeah, no, good work. We need to go with it. Definitely.
And you may wonder why we said that that's new in the plan. It's because it's currently out of ESSER funding, so it is new to this point. Just that point of clarification.
And it just seems like they're voting on it pretty good. That's my last thought.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey,
Yes. I love so much about this. I love the alternative school idea. I know that sometimes that would have loved that when they were going here. I think that's going to help students that don't work well in just a general school environment and need a different route. That will help so many students. When I saw that, my heart was like, yes, I will. I love helping with the emotional growth and helping with other students, and then having reset rooms and giving people a space to breathe. Because we used to have issues where there wasn't really an area to just calm down and breathe. It was the library, but the library being used for other purposes. Now that more people going in there and talking, which is also awkward. But students would have really a quiet, secluded space where they can be monitored, but they can't really breathe. But having reset rooms like that, they can just sit down and breathe. That will be incredible to have. But specific needs alternative school is just an awesome thing to have.
we really paid close attention to how our students responded to both youth groups, but then to the needs survey. And we appreciate all of you taking the time and lending your voice so that we can create a plan which we think will be great for you. So thank you for that feedback. Lindsay Park Campbell? Hi.
I just had a quick question on the EGC class. Is that something, you said that's for kids that are on IEPs? Is that available to all kids on an IEP, or does that depend on like eligibility?
It depends on eligibility,
Okay.
placement, and the placement team decision.
That's it, that was it. Thank you.
That's my list.
Kathy, I got one more question. Is this integrated plan application presentation, is it concrete or is it a living document?
I would say that it's both. It is concrete with the allocations that we have now and the thoughts that we have now. However, it's also a living document because if we can't hire somebody, if you recall, we've had problems hiring certain positions, then the plan has to adjust. So I think it is a living, breathing document, but the plan as I presented tonight is the plan that we hope we will have the allocation for and that we can get the right employees and the right items.
When I got to that too.
Sure.
We see it as a living plan because it's directly connected with our strategic plan. And so some of the conversations I've had as early as late as last week with Kathy is, I want to make sure all of these pieces in here are in our strategic plan and captured, because that is the one that our staff are using. That's the one that we are putting all of our emphasis in to grow as a district. And so both plans have to align. And so our strategic plan really fed this integrated plan. So yes, it's very much living document.
And I understand that. I guess my question was, say that, you know, we're just gonna use an example for FTEs for a teacher. And you decide, well, it's money better spent if we get 2 IAs instead of a teacher. Is that available to do that once you given this plan to ODE?
Yes,
It is.
yes, absolutely.
There would have to be plan revision,
Yeah.
but that's why they wanted us to do the tier. Like, if your allocation became more, what might you use the money for? If it strays too far from the plan, we would have to do a plan rewrite and it would have to come back to you for approval.
Kathy, you know, us as a board, we know that this has been an ongoing process for quite some time. Can you please highlight for the audience as well as the community through the web view, how long you've been working on this plan?
Well, this book came out, I think, in December a year ago.
Okay.
And so that's how long we've been talking about it. That's how long we've been strategizing as to how are we going to get the input? How can we get more voices involved? What can we do for authentic communication? And then we started working the plan. I read through the book a couple of times. I went to 4 trainings where they kind of worked us through. And I've been writing now, I don't know, maybe for 3 months. And this is the easy part. The
Wow.
hard part is all of the additional information that is required by ODE because it meets some of the federal funding rules. That feeds the grant.
On a scale of 1 to 10, Kathy, 1 being easy, 10 to be hard. Taking into consideration the whole plan and everything that needed to be taken care of for all districts, not just this district, where would you rate the scale on the level of difficulty in meeting the time?
I will say that it's very difficult. And here's why, maybe an 8 or a 9, not that I'm trying to garner any kind of sympathy. But last year, or the last time we did SIA and high school success, they were due in May or June. But because this process is so much heftier, they moved this up to be due in March. As you know, we have no idea what the general fund is going to look like. So while we have an allocation here, we're supposed to Bray and Lynn, we don't know what the other funding streams are going to look like. And we don't even know if this funding stream is going to be what it says it is. So that made it extremely difficult. And to have to present to the board prior to this being due. So, I still have 2 weeks to finish all the other parts that don't have to come to you. But wouldn't it be better for me to have it all completed and be able to come to you with all of that knowledge? But it's just not possible. So most people have either presented to their boards in February or in March. And then we'll finish up all the grunt work that goes with it and present it. And remember, the day it's presented, it shows on our website with a video of my presentation and your comments and with the budget. Links to all of it for public listening.
Any other comments from the board?
I have one comment that I would like to say and then turn it over to everybody else. Kathy, I've been on the board now for, I can't remember, I've gone through 2 election cycles, I think totally 10 years, right? And in all the years that I've been on the board and us trying to get to a point where we have up-to-date curriculum, it's all about student success and student achievement. This is by far the best that I have seen come in front of me in all my time on the board. And I thank you very much for all the work that the district put into this whole thing. This is about student achievement, student success, student safety, and student awareness. What are they going to do after school? So thank you for all the work that you put into this.
My favorite terminology after working all of this is student well-being. And I think Jamie would say this too, that our kids are struggling and they're suffering, and they were very honest in their replies to us. And because they took a chance and were very honest, I feel like this is a solid plan that will affect our students' well-being.
I have one comment too, Kathy. I too appreciate everything you've done and all the hard work you put into this. And I just want to comment a little bit about what this fellow from the audience said. This isn't new to us. We've been working on this for years, a couple of different years. As far as when the SIA money came out, we talked about what our priorities were as a district and talking to teachers and talking to parents and so on. So this isn't like, oh, we're just getting to approve a budget of $1 million in one night. We've been working on this for several years. So anyway,
I'll piggyback on that, understanding all of it when you're sitting there and you have every these different programs coming at you and they're continually doing that. I mean, the unfortunate part is you're trying to hit a moving target that they won't even answer for. You're taking your best yet and trying to put it all into there and say, I hope we can make a ball when we're done here, because it's just out there, and that's always been the hardest thing for me to understand. I mean, it's a guessing game until they come out with a concrete number on something. One of the things I do appreciate all the input that's been put in here. Touching on all the things that are there. I mean, yes, mental illness is in everything that goes on right now. It's in the news, it's in everything and it's in the state's eye and all those things. So touching and having those abilities to be able to have more resources, more places to go, or different avenues to live, is huge. We haven't had that in years. I mean, back in my day, a long time ago was, we had a counselor and you went in, talked to the counselor, and a counselor could give you an avenue to go or other things like this, and it could help that same thing with the nurse that we had and all those kind of things that were there. So, things have changed in one area, but yet they're kind of diversifying it, but now it looks like they're trying to bring it all back under one plan. To me, is what I'm understanding now, all of this, instead of having so many plans to monitor. I hope that makes it simpler, helps us become more focused. on, you know, what we're truly trying to achieve with the district. So, thank you.
I have, we have the online version for mental health available to anyone that wants to go to the website. But there's also a mobile app to get in. It's available to anybody in the community. So it's been a focus for the district for a while. I appreciate everything you've done.
Right.
Just wanted to say that, we wanted to listen. We were very sincere in trying to understand coming off of a pandemic, what our kids need, in order to move forward and help them and our teachers. And, this has been a real team effort. Kathy's taken the lead on putting it into the writing and marshaling it together. We really appreciate it. Thank you for all your hard work. But it's been a team effort with many, many voices, principals, you know, other administrators in the district, meeting regularly to talk about these things, talking to their staff about it, you know, working and communicating with the associations about it, talking to students about it, because we wanted to get it right. We wanted to be able to present something that helps the district and where everybody feels that it's the right word. And so all the principals have gone to their schools and have presented and talked. We received feedback today. I asked for that feedback to say what was the general consensus. And we got a lot of support and a lot of people going, yeah, this is the right word. So I just wanted to say that because I feel really good that we're taking the steps to improve and build this district that is a shared value that a lot of people are saying, yeah, this is the word. Thank you.
One last comment I have to make is I want to thank our staff, and our board, and our community, and our stakeholders, and our students who have participated through providing information, participating with the strategic plan, participating with just voicing their opinion, and accessing our district website and get the information and ask questions when they don't understand.
With that, I'd like to move to approve the integrated plan for ODE for 2023 through 2024.
2025,
Sure.
the biennium.
2023 through 2025.
We have a motion and a second to approve the integrated plan for ODE for 2023-2025. Any further comment? Seeing none, Terry Kamali,
Aye.
Huey Robbins, Fred Stottlemyre,
Aye.
Tracy Rose,
Aye.
Kate Jones, aye. Motion carried. Thank you for the presentation. I need to ask, does anyone need a break? Seeing no need, we'll move on then. Budget committee members, we appointed last week 4 budget committee members. 2 for 2 years and 2 for 3 years.